Hello, happy Friday. Oh, why do I always start so like low and like depressing? Happy Friday. Okay, that's a little too much. Um, I'm a little annoyed. Technical difficulties annoyed, and then also my little brother has someone over, one of his friends, and my mom just I'm annoyed at my mom, not so much them. They're little kids, or high school people. But hi Maria, hi Arnaldo. Just annoyed at my mom for like just simple rules. Just simple rules. Don't like make crepes at like 9 o'clock at night because then all of that butter just stays in the air and my parakeets are right there. And don't yell and don't like boom, 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 boom. That's all. There are like three little things. She's like, oh my gosh, too many rules. I'm like, you're a mom. Anyways. So yeah, but more so annoyed at like just my technical difficulty, or not technical difficulties, my dexterity, technical dexterity. Um, and not being short of being prepared because I found this review. I found a couple of reviews of Materialists that I actually want to talk more about the review than my review, if that makes sense. Kind of. I don't know. Anyways, hopefully the internet is going to be good today because I have the little Wi-Fi tower here with me and it's blinking red. But so far we're okay. So hopefully it's going to be okay. And thank you to Roses Wild for helping me finally like understand where is this Van Zandt docket situation. I just assumed everything was under the same docket, but I guess they're not. And she was saying there are three different ones, but that's I'm just going to like check out I guess it's Jones versus Abel one. Did that happen? Like, did they split off when the thing was dismissed, or was it? Because I thought they were all under the same docket for a while. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, and I also have this way. I also have well, not new graphics, just that one. I'd recommend this. This is okay. It's not like amazing, wow, but it's okay. Okay, I just didn't like aesthetically how that looked. So all right. Happy Friday. How has everyone's week been? For anyone new, consider subscribing. We're at 231, and that was like really exciting. It's always like just zoom, just randomly on a random live, and then it's not. Why is this not working? Something's happening with the power strip, I think. Because yeah, things are not working. You seem to be okay. All right. So yeah, welcome if you're new, if you're watching on replay, because right now everyone that's here I think is not new. And I'm Arena. I This one particularly is about two different things, and really the primary topic that I'm so excited to talk about is materialists. I also did not know there was an extra S at the end. A. And B, it seems like a lot of people are mad at this movie. I'm confused because I saw one reviewer, one film critic, review whatever, say this is like the best movie of this year so far. And a bunch of others were like, this is crap. Like, it was great for 40 minutes and then it was bad. And I want to say that the people that thought this movie was bad were probably the same type of people that think that Taylor Swift's Lover album was bad and her worst one, meaning they just didn't understand it and they haven't lived through these experiences. And it's probably how I sound to everyone who loves Sinners. I'm thinking because I totally got this movie. I totally understood this movie and I thought it was an amazing movie. And I have thoughts. I did record a whole review and I'll post that. I am kind of halfway through um editing it, so I'll post that, but I'll definitely talk about a lot about like the reviewers reviews and then the contrast with my review and my impression of this movie, and then we'll also get to the Van Zandt. Oh, and then yeah, and Times, Ryan Reynolds on Times. I will say, you know, hate me, like me, whatever. I will say that he definitely deserves it a whole lot more than Blake Lively. She didn't do anything. She has no reason to be on Times 100 for anything. She's not even a like socialite where she's so influential because she's like she dresses all the time in certain things, like her character Serena. She's not even that important. While Ryan Reynolds, love him, hate him, whatever, I don't like him. I feel like his sense of humor or whatever, that crude humor, is not my cup of tea at all. I think it's kind of low, but that's my opinion. However, I will say that he is a really good marketer. He is good at that. So he deserves that. Just like, Trump being on there would also be like, okay, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether you like him or not, or you agree, or you think it's ethical or moral, that's kind of like a side point. But like, he did at least do stuff. And so I'll talk about that. Those are like my 2.5 topics, I guess, for tonight. And then some general news as well. And I think I'll put that towards the end. The news part. So, yes. So yeah, hit that like, hit that subscribe, drop a dolphin in the comments on replay. And here we go towards, I'm like, I forget that we're almost done with June. And so I'm like, oh, maybe we can hit 300 by June, by the end of June. And that's like next week. So that's not going to happen. It's not impossible, but short of a miracle, that's not going to happen. I think the most I've gotten in a month has been like 50-ish subscribes. That was like when Lauren just sent like a bunch of people twice over. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Starting to say that, trying to get to that 500. All right. So yeah. So hi, Maria. Number 2, number 1. No preference in the number just because you came second tonight. But yeah, hi. How is everyone's week? I don't feel like we've talked about weeks and how everyone is doing in a bit. And yeah, I mean, I guess you don't have to, but I'm genuinely asking too how your weeks have gone. Hi, Rose is wild. Um, and yeah, I think that's kind of all. I'm going to give you like a little bit if anyone wants to say anything about how their week has gone. I'm going to give you a little bit. And then I'm going to go into the movie. Oh, also, I was looking at the dollar store toy section. I've been looking for a pruning shear for my garden because they had like a good one. I don't know. You said good, Maria. I'm glad. Everyone's good. No one's sick. I'm finally over my sickness, like 98%. Hope everyone is good too. Um, does anyone know Opal? As far as like a car brand, of course. Okay, there we go. So, no, not sick, Maria, not sick. Oh, um, this is not how it looked like. I think this is an Opel Cadet CGTE. I think this is very American style because my dad in Romania had an Opel. He had like a few Opels and they were cool looking. Not like this. This is not bad, but this is like very classic American type of looking car. And Opel just seemed like it just was a little different, but it was random. So I was like, okay, I don't usually go for cars, but I had to get it. So yeah, me too. I second Rose is wild. Um, and then this is I might actually do this. I have, I think, 2 other ones, dollar store puzzles that they're just so pretty that I don't want to unbox. It makes 0 sense. But yeah, anyways, just buying some time, like I said. All right. So, Materialists, which again, I didn't know that it had the extras. I saw it on Tuesday. It was like a movie. I want to have more of these movie weeks, but I was looking at the movies that are left, and um, there was one that was like maybe, oh, Ballerina. I've not seen one John Wick movie, so I don't know if that's okay because yeah, I've not seen any. Let me, yay, another graphic. So yeah, I think I'll see that one maybe, but I don't know. I haven't really, yeah. But yeah, this week 2 movies, Life of Chuck, talked about that one. If I would pick a favorite between the 2, they're so different. I think Life of Chuck is um I think it's more unique. I think it's more universal. I think that it's less controversial. Less people will disagree on how it should have gone and so forth. This will be somewhat of a spoiler sort of thing. I've not seen Constantine either. I don't know. I probably should. I don't know why, but yeah. Um He's had like what? There's 7 John Wicks or something. It's one of those like big ones that I'm like, oh, they're still making it. Is it kind of the same? I don't even know what either of them are really about. I feel, aren't they like just hunting ether people, like ghosts or supernatural things on? I don't know. Seen and love John Wick movies. I think 4. Okay, Hitman and John Wick. Okay. All right. I thought John Wick was also demonish and supernatural. By the way, I just saw on Instagram talking about hitmans and stuff. That ICE is like the third wave of it or whatever is like hiring bounty hunters. That's supposedly going on. I have not researched this, so this is an allegation or whatever. It was like an Instagram tidbit of this guy talking at some city council meeting saying I'm a bounty hunter and we're next being recruited for ICE, and then if we're involved then there's like no rules and we don't need warrants and we can do whatever and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I have not confirmed this, so I don't know. I don't know, but someone in nice custody. I saw that. Yeah. I mean, I think I saw that there's like more and more um like SA stuff happening. Um yeah, just a bunch of like health issues, pregnant women that have miscarriages, it sounds like, and things like that in ICE, in custody, like, and I imagine there's truth in that because they just kind of took so many people and so random. And I just saw is it Joe Rogan? I saw him talk about how um, if the people that voted for Trump and for this knew that he was just going to go into like a random Home Depot and just like detain just anyone and not just criminals, like they wouldn't have voted. I'm like, do you need an education? Because if you're over 18 and you can't discern that that would happen, Like you need a little bit more education. You need your brain to like think a little bit more. Or yeah, like I don't even understand that train of thought. Like, are you really that lazy to think outside of what you're being told? And I even hear that because I wasn't listening to Trump's campaign, honestly, so I don't know. But I hear from people who did that he even said that he had like a certain number he wanted to reach. And yeah, he was saying about criminals and stuff, but like it was more about the number. And so it wasn't quite like the big shock that, they're trying to make it seem, or, he's saying it now. But yeah, I just thought like maybe I guess it goes into that critical thinking. Like, I'm just like baffled that someone would say like, "Oh, well, we didn't know he, would do this. We just thought he would go after criminals." Like, how how do you not know that? Do we not see the same person? Do we not did we not live through the first 4 years? When what the heck? And I just thought that was like really dumb. But yeah. Or like gullible, I guess. I have a hard time believing that's true. I have a hard time. I think that's what like he's saying and other people, and especially for him. I don't know him, but he has this podcast. Everyone talks about him. So I imagine I mean, he comes across as someone, yeah, that, is on a different side of perspectives, but kind of educated and thoughtful about, what he wants. And so, like, I guess it's a shock for me to hear him particularly say that. But yeah, anyways. So, but yeah, that was like really sad. I didn't really actually let me see if I can find, I don't know either the cause. I didn't see anything like that. Oh, Japan says bye. I don't know what words to use. To Takahiro Shiraishi or something. The Twitter unaliver. Didn't know that was a thing. Um, Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna add that to the news part too. Oh, and then also I have like a little update on Russell Brand. It's such a tiny update because it's really hard to find anything. Um, I don't even know how to like search on ground news much. Okay, so I'll talk about the Canadian ICE custody case when I get to the news. In Japan, it's by. I know. I was like, how do I say this in a non, you know, red flag to YouTube? I don't know. I don't even know. Is that still a thing? I don't even know. I don't know. I might sound like just very old and not with the times thinking that way, but I don't know. I see certain people just like say the words, and I see certain people like be so cautious, and I don't know. I don't know. And I kind of, especially with these words, like I kind of understand, like from a psychology point of view. Fun fact, I don't know who was talking about this recently, but someone was talking about how I think in Europe, um, people say news just factually, just like, deadpan or whatever. And I remember the psychology study, I think it was in Japan, where they switched from like sensational news about people unaliving themselves and so forth and so on. And they went from like having that story and the sensational and the like woo and and all that vibe to telling those stories on the news that way, to just like kind of deadpan, no emotion, just like say the facts and that's it. And how it dropped, I think like over, I think it was 60% or something. It dropped the, like, the, rate or whatever dropped by 60%. And yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of marketing in the US. And that's why when it comes to like the Times 100 with Ryan Reynolds, I feel like it's aligned with the US. Everything about the US is marketing. And I have kind of been really wary in like talking about this and covering this, and I need to like do my research a little better. I don't remember. I need to find the documentary that I saw, and all that stuff. But like marketing started in the 1940s. It was very much psychological manipulation, and it's been going. I mean, I don't know, it started that way, but like marketing as we have it now started that way, and it was experimental and all this stuff. And so it's everything about marketing today is not very ethical and moral. Everything about it is about manipulating people. Um, and yeah, we just kind of treat it very casually. So, news wise, too, it goes into that. And I feel, I don't know, it kind of sometimes feels so trapping to be in this country where you can't get away from that. I mean, with news, I just don't listen to it and I just read it and blah, blah, blah. But even reading, depending on where you read it, can be sensationalized with certain words and phrasings and stuff. But that's why I love NPR, whether or not they're skewed and biased, whatever, they're really monotone when they present things. Or I guess not always. Sometimes they are emotional, but like human emotion rather than like purchasing emotion, where like believe this because it's in your interest, it's in our interest for you to buy into this. They're more like just human stories, like have empathy. They're like dealing with empathy rather than like marketing news, if that makes any sense. Anyways, wow. Whoa, my thing. There are too many SA and SH cases now, and Russell Brand's stuff got pushed low into the Google searches, I think. It's also because it's in the UK, and it seems like it's quite. Like, I literally could not find anything since May 30th, which was his second appearance. And supposedly I think June 3rd or June 13th, he was supposed to start court for 4 weeks, and there's like nothing. So, yeah. Yeah, Kevin Costner, Tyler Perry, Justin Baldoni, Shannon Sharp, Jared Leto. I haven't. What Jared Leto is in this too? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Was he? No. Oh my gosh. I don't think I put like don't suggest Candace. So I don't know why she's not coming up on my YouTube anymore. Maybe because we're not aligned, but yeah, I don't think I like said. I know. I think with Megan Kelly, I was like, don't suggest this anymore. Just no. If I really need to look, cause I'll check about Baldoni or whatever. Oh my gosh, he was. Wow. All right. Well, that seems on brand because she's making a case for Harvey Weinstein, which is kind of, I don't know, a little shocking, but whatever. Hmm. No, somehow I get Josh Johnson video, which I'd rather watch. Ew, what is he wearing? Hold on, let me put back onto appetizers. What is this outfit? What is this outfit? What happened to him? Why? If he's found Jesus and he's all like good and spiritual and like a better human, why can't he dress better? What is this? I didn't see the skirt or whatever that is when I glanced at video. Yeah. What is
You
this?
know, I don't like to wait around.
That's not true.
It is true. Why would I say it? It's not like I'm saying, oh, guess what? I see visions of angels and they're giving me guidance. I'm saying I get nervous. No one would make that claim to make yourself seem or feel better, would you? What, like you think it's some sort of reverse modesty? Oh, I'm nervous because I'm so fragile and not at all vain.
No, I just think that you're a famous actor, you know, so I feel...
Well, I have no idea what's going on already. Okay. Anyways, well, yeah, well, we'll watch a little bit of that. But let's just like go into, I can't believe, like, I can see, oh man. I feel like that's interesting that all of these cases are happening right now. Especially because we're 6 years after Me Too, the Me Too explosion, and like, why not then? I don't know. You know? Yeah. I feel like we're not in the Me Too movement, like, was. Not that it's like stopped and we're like back to like, before that. But we're kind of like with COVID, a little less like with COVID, people going back in person and blah, blah, blah. We're a little less than that. We're still very conscious about Me Too type of stuff, but it's still quite a while after, for all of these people to be. And then with Justin Baldoni, like, that just happened. And I don't know. Yeah, that's so, I wonder if it's because of the 47.1, where people are like, oh, yeah, let's all file now. Not as far as like Russell Brand, because he's in the UK, but yeah. Which is what you just are saying. It's like the 47.1 that went into effect in January. These types of laws are popping up and new, and these cases are popping out of the woodwork. Yeah, it's probably because of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I get conflicted about all of this. I guess I'm like so hippie or whatever that, like, why are people not better? I know Chris Brown had people in different country also. Oh boy, Chris Brown. I don't know. I was shocked when he had like a single out a few years ago. I was like, and he was popular and people loved the single. I'm like, did we just like forget what happened, that he was like hitting Rihanna and stuff? What the heck? Like, that was like the biggest shock, more than like, Army Hammer, because the same, like, Army Hammer stuff and Johnny Depp, it's like those things were in relationships type of things. And so I mean, well, I guess like Chris Brown and Rihanna was also a relationship. I don't know. It was just like, to me, I was just shocked that he was like just back on the scene, like nothing was happening. And I don't know. So, yeah, me neither. I actually don't want to have anything to do with that either. With him, his music. And I'm generally quite open. Like with Michael Jackson, I know people feel that way about him. R. Kelly, I didn't watch the R. Kelly stuff. I need to, but it's not like I'm a huge R. Kelly fan. But with Michael Jackson, like, oh gosh, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's complicated and confusing, and I feel like, I don't know, do we have enough to know anything? I don't know. But I don't know, with Chris Brown, it just seemed like very like obvious and clear cut. I don't know. It's hard not to dance to Michael. Yeah. Yeah. And he's also passed away, so um, it's not like he's getting the money. And, I hate to say that. I don't actually know who gets his money, his parents or his kids now, because I think they were having like their whole legal stuff too about that. But because that's what I think too, as far as Chris Brown, like he gets the reward, like if the person passed away, it's like different. I don't don't know. Like I don't know. I guess it's like a case by case thing too. And also like I don't know. I just have not seen as much concrete proof around Michael Jackson. I hate to say that, I guess, but um yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, made out worse than it was has me wondering how much of it was really there. We have so many loving memories to his music. It was hard to turn on Michael. Yeah, and to find out all of these years that Leslie Sloan and Megan Twohey played a role in a smear against him being. Really? Are you serious? Are they that old? Especially Megan Twohey looked like quite young. How, like, was that like 20 years ago? My dog, I don't know if a couple of you have dogs, or I think one of the Marias has dogs, but my dog, she like looked at me because I'm being too loud or something, and she was like sleeping, so she looked like her like fur was like pushed up that way, and now she's like she put her like head away. She's like, I don't want to be part of this. I did not know that about Michael Jackson and or what are you talking about, Michael? Yeah, you're talking about Michael, not Chris Brown, right? With Megan and Leslie. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Um, covered. Oh my gosh, I hate when like this like does that. Candace Owens covered this early on. The New York Times played role in Michael and Weinstein and many others. It's what led her into finally being open to look up about Harvey Weinstein. Okay. Well, I'll put that down. We'll dive into Michael Jackson next time. Very random, but I'm curious now because I don't know much. I don't know. All right. No, not that. Where is it? This one and there we go. All right. So, Materialists. I'm so proud of my little graphics. See, now that I feel like a bit more prepared and like ready, you know, new people are in here. Okay, so yeah, between Life and Chuck and this, very different movies, very different audiences, I feel. This so if it was really supposed to be the romantic rom-com comeback of rom-coms like they were in the 90s or whatever, um I think thank goodness it wasn't because the 90s rom-coms screwed me up because I can't trust a man for liking me because all the 90s rom-coms were about guys who were like betting with their friends that on the ugly girl or whatever. Which when you look back now, it's like none of those girls were ugly. But the whole premise was that, and then, or like the dying girl in A Walk to Remember, and stuff like that. I don't know. And like, romance would bud from there. So yeah, I think I credit those movies for why if a guy there was one time that a guy walked up to me just randomly in the cafeteria at college, and I was like, what did you bet with your friends about me? Like I just cannot do that. So in that way, I'm glad that it's not. It's also I didn't find it very funny. It had funny moments, but it was more A24. I don't feel like makes funny movies. They make they're like kind of independent-y type movies where it's like serious, artistic, different. And but not like full indie movies where they're like really like about like just weird stuff. I don't know. So, yeah, I didn't think that it was a comedy per se at all, actually. I thought it was just a romantic movie. But I didn't know what to expect because I saw headlines or whatever YouTube titles saying this is a romantic movie. This is not a romantic movie. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting. It actually made me want to go see it more because I'm like, if it's not romantic, I thought it was a romance movie. So if it's not, what is it? Now I'm curious. And I would say that I think it's both. I think it's a romantic movie and it's not a romantic movie. I think that it has a bigger purpose as far as highlighting the materialistic culture that I'm always still shocked about. This whole thing with like women wanting 6 foot, went to college. I get the college part because that's like I grew up with that kind of idea too. Like make sure he went to college because otherwise like you'll get, someone who's like not classy basically, and just more like vulgar and stuff. But yeah, and not saying that's true. I'm saying that's what I was taught. So I get that, but I was never taught a certain height. I was never taught like a certain like income level. Although like my mom would tell me to marry, she would tell me that I need to marry like people with careers or um vocations, I would say, that were aligned with whatever I was going through at the time. So like one time for a while I was like a hypochondriac. So they're like, you need to marry a doctor. A also, they have money, but B, because you're, constantly having all of these health scares and stuff. And then I don't know what else. There was another one, which is ironic. It's interesting that she said that because my dad is a doctor and that didn't work out for them. So, yeah, but I guess that wasn't the point. Um, and yeah, but the height one just boggles my mind. Just like with muscles, I don't understand that because with height, like, why are you doing that to your neck? Why are you doing that to like when someone's like super tall or taller than you, like you can't kiss them. You can't just spontaneously kiss them because you're like have to like, hey, can you come down for a second? Um, I don't know. And then also, this is also something because there's a big thing with women wanting older men, and I get the maturity part. I so get the maturity part more and more and more, but I just cannot date anyone that feels more like a dad. I just cannot do that. It's just like it's just, I don't know. I can't do that. So they have to be pretty much close to my age. And I do tend to date younger. But height, the same thing. Like it feels like I'm a child if the guy is too tall. Um, yeah, I don't know. Now it does. I don't hold it against them that much, obviously, because my ex was, I think, 6'2", 6'3". I don't know. So I was like, whatever. Everything else, what do you call that? Overtook that detail. Um, and yeah, but it was kind of like when we're like driving or whatever, and I would just feel like a little child in the passenger seat because the seats on the passenger side are also lower. So that actually really was painful for me. I did not like that. I did not enjoy that. And maybe that's like what women want, to feel like little kids, like infantile sort of, and like being taken care of like a kid. Because like when you think about like the more money, the taller. There's something else that I was thinking about. It's just all the older, the guy being older and stuff. Like it just gives that kind of like child parent vibe, and I just don't. I want my partner to be my partner, my equal, not my superior or inferior. Um, so yeah, no, I don't want to parent anyone, and I don't want to be parented, and I don't want that. So, but this movie was strongly about the height, strongly about the height. They talked about this, um, and none of these guys had a height issue, even though they both look shorter than they are. You know how some people like you just like they look shorter for some reason. Anyways, but yeah, but they talked about this surgery where guys, I guess anyone, can break their legs and gain like up to 6 inches because they like make the bone grow or whatever, and it costs like $200,000 or something. And I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I will not love you more because you're 6 inches taller. But I guess there's plenty of women who won't be with someone if they're not, I guess. So, I don't know. Just be who you are. I don't know. The one guy, though, did have a good point as far as in business. And I can totally see how in business with other men and so forth, how if they are taller, they get more respect or they, have more weight. So, yeah, I've not heard of that either. Honestly, I did not check to see how accurate that is. Um, quick thing. Yes, surgery can be performed to increase a person's height. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of now thinking about it. Although it is a complex and lengthy process, the primary surgical procedure for this is called limb lengthening surgery. This is like the great disappointment, such like unique names. Um so yeah, so they break the tibia bone, the shin bone or thigh bone, and insert a device to gradually separate the bone fragments. I mean, if people get like boob surgery and all these other plastic surgeries, which to me, anything like around the chest, I feel like hurts so much. Like why? Or like no, I don't know. So I mean, why not people doing this? As the bone fragments are slowly pulled apart, the new bone tissue forms in the gap. But also, I think this should come with a caution of do not be on Ozempic or anything like it, because then like that literally, did I talk about this? How Ozempic causes osteoporosis. You need to be very careful that you are eating and you are doing whatever you can to build bone. Because if you're just naturally losing bone already, I don't feel like you're going to like actually gain anything from this. You're going to put yourself in like danger. Like, yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, it exists. All right. Well, anyways. Um so yeah. Um so that was like a big part of this movie. Like I said, this will be somewhat with spoilers. I really want to say all the spoilers honestly because um yeah, it's hard not to. It's hard not to. But I'll try my best not to give anything crazy away. So, it starts with her being a matchmaker and she goes to one of her clients' weddings and she doesn't meet, but this guy, his brother, Pablo, what is it? Pablo Pascal, I think. Pedro Pascal. I don't know this guy, and he's so. When I saw him on like the Apple commercial, I'm like, why is he on this? And everyone's like going crazy about this guy, um, Pedro Pascal. Okay. Um, so he like makes himself meet her basically, and she wants to just like hire him or like have him as a client or for her clients or whatever. And so she also says like she's not the person that he would want to date, she's not dateable or whatever. and then Chris Evans' character, which I learned is John. Pedro's is Harry, and she's Lucy, and all of these names are so forgettable to me, and they don't look like their characters to me. I don't know, or maybe their names. No, they were repeated through the movie. I don't know. They just nothing, because at the end, like they mention one of the characters. I don't know. I can't not say who she picks in the end, but yeah, like they mentioned the other guy's name, and I was like, is that the other guy, or is he just a random person? Like, I swear, I just did not even remember the guy's name at the end. I'm like, what are they talking about? So yeah, but yeah, and then this is where I disagree with a couple, or at least one of the reviewers, saying that we didn't get the relationship between these characters, like her and Harry, Lucy and Harry, Lucy and Pedro. I mean, sorry, that's the same person. Lucy and John. I might just call them by their like actor name. And to me, I think it's maybe people that haven't loved. I'm just gonna put that out there, because to me it was like super obvious. It was so instant. I was actually, one of the, like, my favorite things about this movie is how she lingered on different people when they were having a conversation. She didn't do the tennis match back and forth. This was directed by Celine Song, a woman, so that's why I'm saying she. And she just like stuck to like one character at a time for like a long time, and we could see the changes of their reactions and their emotional life, and I thought that was just like so amazing. I do want to see Naked Gun, yes. um oh really? Kind of, I think that's cute. I hope that's like a nice love story and not like creepy, or we'll get another sort of lawsuit or whatever, but I don't think it is. Not with Pam Anderson. I think she's like really like grounded, but that's, yeah, that's cool. I do want to see that. I loved Naked Gun movies when I was younger, and I was trying to watch one earlier, I mean this year or last year, and I just didn't get into it. So I don't know if I'm like, maybe I outgrew that kind of humor or whatever, but still I'll see it just because of the throwback. And I love in the trailer that they all have like, they're talking to their dads or whatever, and OJ Simpson's character's son, he he looks at the camera as like, no, no, I'm not gonna thank him. I love that part. Anyways, yeah, but back to Materialist. Although I'm excited about that too, but so yeah. I so the lingering thing. So I think we see a lot about like just real connection and real emotion, real experience, real they live in the moment. They're really living it. And so I think we see that. And I also think that at least for me, it felt largely realistic as far as dialogue, as far as plot, even. It had like a happy ending. She picks one of them. It had the happy ending. And I guess in real life, I feel like it doesn't always go that way. But I'll also play Celine talking about this. Like, I'm really happy that she decided to do this movie and to have this happy ending, and it's not this like tragic or like cliffhanger where Lucy just ends up not dating either of them and just like dates herself and all this crap. And I know people are so into that story right now, but I think we need more love, and I think we need more understanding of what love is and how uh, real relationships are messy and not perfect, and that we need each other. I don't think that we need to have the false impression that we're better off alone, because I do think that's a false impression. I think that also in this movie, neither guy was bad. neither guy was like a bad guy. So it wasn't like, oh, she's better with a bad guy than alone. That's not the point of the movie, and that wasn't the case. They're both good guys. They're both really good guys. Um, and I felt like that was like also a curveball because I kept waiting to see Harry being the guy who's like ultra mega rich and blah blah blah. I kept waiting to see like a huge flaw in him. That's like the cliche love story kind of rom-com situation, right? There wasn't. That's a spoiler, I guess. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but there wasn't. Um and with John, he had flaws, but they were like pretty realistic, or nothing like bad. Again, like none of them were like bad to her. They weren't like hurting her per se. So that was nice, I guess. Oh my gosh, I was fine, and then I started talking, and now like the post nasal drip is like crazy. Forces me to drink more water though. Oh, and then I didn't see the one scene because I went to the bathroom because I was having a similar issue, and I kept drinking water, and in an hour I was like, and then I saw it yesterday finally, and it's a good scene, but one of the reviewers has issues with it. And that will maybe spoil some things. I'll mention it when I get to that part. Um, okay, so it was revealed also, but this is at the end, but it's not really a spoiler, that she makes $80,000. And this one kid, this one reviewer, he sounds like he's from England. He's like, that's a good chunk of change. She's not completely broke, and I'm like, in New York City, you need to live in the US a little bit. And she's a college dropout. She wanted to do acting, didn't work out. She talks about having debt. She talks about having a negative dowry when she talks with Harry. To which he says like, I have enough money for both of us, so whatever. That's not a point. I was taught by my family that like a rich guy probably would not want to marry me or whatever, to be with me if I would have debt or whatever. So I need to unlearn a lot of things because I will end up alone. But anyways, but yeah, and at the same time, the clothes she's wearing, the way that she is and stuff, she does not look like she has $80,000 in New York. She looks like she has maybe $120,000 in New York. Not that she's like ultra rich. She doesn't seem like she's ultra rich, but she does not seem like $80,000, which is not poor, but she's living alone in New York City. And I believe her apartment is in Manhattan. So, and it didn't look like in a bad neighborhood. So I don't I don't know about this $80,000 where like she has the enough money to take care of herself. Like, I guess yeah, but like it's on the low end there. But yeah. Also, honestly, they're charging these people like $50,000 or something. I don't know if that was like in the movie or that was on like a review or something, but they charge these clients so much money. How is she making only 80,000? That was my first impression. Like, that's it? You're a matchmaker in New York for elite clients and you're only making $80,000? What? So, yeah, that was, and just like the way that the matchmaking firm was, like it just seemed like they would earn more. And there weren't many women working there and all, I don't know. So, yeah. Um, but moving on from that. Mm, oh, so yeah, so um she leaves with John at the end of the wedding, and I thought it was just like, I don't know, so realistic, so like simple, and I think this is one of the things that I loved about this movie was that it was so realistic to me. It wasn't trying too hard to be anything idealistic or trying too hard to be something the opposite of idealistic, like worse than real life or better than real life. It was just really credible. And the characters, everything, the choices and everything wasn't out of left field. It wasn't too crazy. It just flowed. The choices made sense. um it all made sense, and that's what I was also talking about as far as like, this is so annoying. This is so annoying. mm. Sorry, one second. Let me do my little handy dandy thing. I haven't done this in a while. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, it was like really realistic. But the idea was that love is uncontrollable and inexplicable. And actually, let me play at this moment. Let me play. Where is it? Huh, wait, where did I put it? Oh my gosh, this just a random one. This is literally, these are the videos that I just like I have to click on when I cause so like while I'm finding this other video. There we go, found it. With Celine talking about the idea she had of this movie and so forth. I cannot wait to see this, how they did this. Oh my gosh. I just want to like design my backyard and just, I don't know. I think I've been in this like nesting period for like a few years now, but I don't have a nest. So yeah. All right.
Know the truth about love, which that love is an ancient mystery, and it's a thing that you cannot quantify no matter how hard you try. And I would describe it as being struck by lightning.
I have not seen this movie, but she only did 3 movies, at least on IMDb. This is her 3rd movie. This being her first, technically, and then there was like I think a short. It looked like this is Past Lives that everyone talks about how gut wrenching and heart wrenching and this and this and this was. And I was like, hey, dude, not everything has to be the same. The Materialists was a happy movie. It was a happy movie. If you're expecting or going into it wanting like trauma, no. I mean, people talk. There is trauma, but it's trauma more like realistically talked about, like just like realistic trauma. Not, I actually don't know anything about this song, but or the last song, but by the way that people make it sound, it was like this like one of those indie movies that I'm not into, but I'll watch it. I just have low expectations for it because of how people describe it. But yeah, so her premise, her like idea of this movie was of Materialists was that it was, and you could see it like love is uncontrollable. You don't control it. It's not about checking boxes and it's not about materialistic things and it's not a business transaction and blah, 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 blah. Even though some people treat it that way and some people get married that way, some people don't. And I love that. Again, I think we need that. So she was, I guess, criticized by some people for that. Yeah, love is an intangible and uncontrollable. All right, so I love that Harry was not particularly flawed or bad, or John either. They're both nice guys. Um, and there was something that was mentioned in these reviews that, you know, neither relationship, we didn't see the relationship like behind the scenes enough on either side, either relationship, to attach ourselves to a particular relationship, or make it seem like the one that she ends up with is like more romantic, or the build of it or whatever, to us, the audience. And I think that person was blind, because it's there. I think it's very much there. I think both are there. But I think they're there especially specifically to what each relationship was about. And yeah, how John's character, he's 37, why didn't he get his act together earlier? Have you met actors? Have you met artistic people? Have you met people in their 30s right now? Me being one of them. Like, I just felt like that was such an ignorant statement by this reviewer. Um, and also, like, the way that I saw John through my personal experiences, I totally get why he didn't before. It makes me think, I think it was, it a bachelor? Yes, it was. Oh, what's their names? It was a bachelor couple. They weren't really on The Bachelor together. They were on Bachelor in Paradise, and then they ended up together, Ashley and Jared. And Jared, it's a really, really cool story. I've watched their like love story interview or whatever so many times, because um, I felt like I could relate to it. A, B, it was aspirational. I was like, I hope this works out for me too. And also, like, they just went into like very specific details of how different life is than the checklist that you have for how relationships should work and all this stuff. um and they just had a very different trajectory and relationship story. But yeah, Jared mentioned these are real life people, but yeah, he mentioned that um, it took him a while to believe that he can be happy, and actually, that is something John says. Um, that like she makes him believe that he can be happy, something like that, or that he doesn't have to be sad. I'm like paraphrasing and combining the two, but that idea. So for me, it wasn't like I understood that, because I saw this real life couple talk about exactly that. They weren't together for a few years, like 3 years or something. They were just friends, and then she ended up being with someone else, and then he was like, hold up, I'm losing her, I need to get my act together. And yeah, like he describes that, like, oh, I can make this choice, I don't have to live in the rain and in under a cloud for the rest of my life. Like, I can make the choice to be happy, I can be with this person, I can be enough for her, etc., etc. And so I think, I to me, that's why I was like, duh, for this movie when John says something similar. Um and yeah, oh gosh, and people right now, God, if you're under 50, I think even maybe under 40s, like you can be struggling. Not everyone has had a chance to get their life together. And I'm not speaking just from my personal experience. I just hear a lot of people that either had it together and they're like, whoa, I need to like change directions, or what am I doing with my life, or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah. Um, yeah, this other reviewer was saying that it wasn't haunting enough. Oh gosh, that um the guy she didn't end up with didn't catch the final couple together, which would set him into this like spiral, gut wrenching spiral or whatever. And I'm like, are you okay, dude? Because it's a guy that's making this review. Like, why do you need people to suffer? What is wrong with you? Like, this, why can't this be a nice romantic movie and like a hopeful, aspirational movie? Why does it have to be at someone's expense? You know, why does someone have to suffer? I know that, like, I would hope the most that my partner's ex, whatever, would not run into us before they're ready, I guess, because I don't want anyone to suffer, and same with me. Like, I don't really want to see that. So yeah, because it doesn't have to be that way. Like, no. And I also, because I understand what that means. Like, I've been, without having that experience, I've been for months just depressed, and not as much now, but like there were like 3 months or so at the beginning of this year that I was just almost bedridden. If I didn't have my parakeets, I would have probably been in my bed pretty much the whole day and depressed and couldn't sleep. And then I also like would sleep too late um and just like I couldn't function. So like I don't think that I want that. I feel like it's like so easy for someone to say like, "Oh, on the movie." And of course, yeah, these are characters, but like I would rather believe that didn't happen in real life too, for these characters. So yeah, there was an essay plot to this movie that I didn't really see it as glossed over, but I guess in retrospect, I guess so. But again, this particular reviewer is saying that it would have been like a really interesting angle, but just like with It Ends With Us, yes, but it wasn't that movie. That should be a different movie, and it should be a movie, but that's not the movie that we're watching. Because It Ends With Us, I really, like I have mentioned, I really like the idea that Justin has spoken about of a movie from the guy's perspective, and in a way to connect to guys who do SASH, etc., and can see themselves and have that moment of like, why do I do this? I don't want to do this anymore, and change and create that like starter seed of change in them. And so I think that's like an amazing movie that should be explored, but that wasn't It Ends With Us. And the same thing with this one. This was in the movie to talk about the dangers of dating. This was a movie about materialists. And I think the point of that was to kind of have that realistic point of it, of matchmaking. And I think it was more like a tool for the character's journey, which is weird to say as far as that, but they didn't go into detail to where I thought it was distasteful. They just like kind of mention it. It took, I think, a different journey of her being affected by this rather than just glossing it over or whatever. So I think like there were unique choices in how this was all handled compared to what the cliche would be for a romantic movie. So yeah. And then at the end, it was kind of, it brought her and her final choice together, because the client that she had that went through this SA experience, the guy came and would just not leave her alone or whatever, or like would try to get into her building, etc. And so Lucy and her final choice were like, okay, yeah, let me go, be there. And at the end of, or the next day, it led them to get together. And this reviewer said that was distasteful or something. And I thought, no, it wasn't. I thought it was also very, the word poignant comes to mind. I think it was very realistic, because in those moments, I don't know, especially how the narrative went. In those moments is when you realize what you have. It was kind of one of those moments, like, not so much like, oh, at least the person I'm interested in isn't an essay, or But like you do have these moments of um not so much like our problems aren't bad, but more so like you just realize what you have, but not like because it's not as bad, but because you overlooked it before because you were like looking at it through this like microscope of like bad. I don't. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know, but it made total sense for me, and I didn't think that it was distasteful. But I also can understand why someone could like make that comment. Um, but yeah, it was brushed aside a little bit again, but it was like kind of not the point, not that kind of movie that was, and you could say, why was that even included? But yeah, I think it was like self serving for the plot, for the characters, for Lucy, because it set her into this like, I don't know that I want to be a matchmaker anymore. I'm not good at this. And she at the beginning she comes across as this very materialistic, very like self-assured, she knows what she wants person. Very quickly, before even the essay plot, but very quickly, well, actually at the same time, technically in the timeline of the movie, but we see her on a date with Harry talking about how she feels basically worthless, which I related to, and I didn't know that I could relate to that because I didn't think that I felt that way until more recently when I've been like reflecting and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I do feel that. And then with this movie, um, or not valuable or whatever, or less valuable, and so like that it just like amplified that and just set her into the spiral. And yeah, so I thought it made sense for the plot of the movie. Yeah, and I don't think it was like treated disrespectfully, but I don't know. Let me know what you think in once you watch it, for anyone out there who wants to let me know what you think. Um I said in my notes that they had a romantic ending to the scene, and how self-involved these characters were is what the guy was saying, and I actually have that pulled up. And I said I don't think so. I don't think they were self-involved. I think in those moments, it's those moments that can jolt you to your reality, um and how you make it worse than it is, kind of, or whatever. Like, I don't know. And I think, honestly, yeah, the other part was that this guy criticized because, like, why did this guy drive her or suggest to drive her out of the city and then yell at her when she didn't know if she wanted to for them to get back together. And he's like, I want, also I really was trying to get um the script. I really want the script. I love this movie that much. But that scene especially, that was like, I thought for before I saw that scene, because that's the scene that I missed when I went to the bathroom. Before I saw that scene, I thought that I was like, where's my Chris Evans character? Or like my ex felt like my Chris Evans character, because I felt I believe that like one of the moments that I guess I kind of gave away some of I spoiled it. But I guess that like yeah, sorry. I was like, what am I talking about? I can totally see that if something bad happens, like how she was like just so thrown off by this essay, by her client being essayed and stuff, and how bad she felt, and how like questioning her whole world and this career that she's built and everything. Um, and she called John, and I felt like if I can see me and my ex like do that with each other, and both of us being there for each other, if that happens. And that's what I felt like it was so realistic too. Like these characters, Lucy and John, from the first moment like they hug, and it's like they broke up before and they had this like pretty tough incompatibility almost. um but it wasn't lack of love, or it wasn't that they were like just hating each other, which is also something you see so much. And I felt like that was more realistic too, but I guess it depends on the person and the couple. But I feel that way, even though like there's definite like resentment and stuff. um that person that you love, you just kind of like love, and even if you don't end up together, if like there's something bad happening, like you're there for each other. I don't know, so I thought that was like a sweet moment, and I'm really happy that was part of the plot. um but then seeing that scene, I was like, I am Chris Evans' character. I am him. Because, like, what he said, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how I feel. This is exactly like I feel like I've not dared say that, but I felt that often. And so like more recently, I guess, or the past like couple of years or so. So I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. Sometime I'm honestly all the characters, and I am fascinated by that too. Like how like you can watch a movie and most of the time you're like, oh, I'm this character, but like for this one, for me at least, like I am all the characters. I'm all of them in some way. Like um Harry feels like it's so hard to love and stuff. It's just not working out for him, never works out for him or whatever. She has like these high standards but also feels unworthy at the same time. And I'm not as so much closed off as she is, and like, oh, I'll just like be single forever and blah blah blah. And I'm like the hopeless romantic that Chris Evans is. His character, John, just don't like that name. And um, and like hung up on love kind of thing, and blah blah, and kind of a doormat. So like things like that. It's like I'm all of these characters. Anyways, so yeah. I was going to play this reviewer, but even though I kind of spoiled it, kind of, I feel like, yeah, not so much. I don't want to go that far. Um, the one thing that he said that I want to mention. So if you didn't get the spoiler yet, this is going to be a spoiler. I am going to like tune away for like 30 seconds or so. Because it is, I'm gonna spoil it for a second as far as like the ending. So the reviewer said that John is unlikable, and that yeah, the whole lashing out after he suggests for them to drive into the country. But I'm like, yes, I've been there. I've been there where you're like, you hope, you want, you love this person, you want to be with them, you want to spend time, and you want to be there for them, and you want to all of that. And then you're like, crap, but are they just using me? Or, are they going to leave again or whatever? And then you lash out like, wait, are you staying or are you going? And then if they answer like, I don't know, then yeah, you're going to be like, am I that worthless? Am I this? Am I that? Are you just using me? All this stuff like comes to your mind. So I don't think it was like lashing out. It wasn't like he was just suddenly so mean to her and stuff. But yeah, totally understand that part. But at the end, like he says, he says like, um, that he will put in his calendar reminders that he loves her. So he won't forget again. And I thought that is an interesting line. I'm not gonna lie, that is interesting. I I think it goes into the realistic part of, I don't know if everyone, but I think day to day can take you away from remembering that you love the person, and you can like kind of take for granted that they're there, and that you're, even if you're like getting along and there's no fighting or anything, like you can just take for granted. I think that's what he was trying to say, but I do understand the reviewer saying that's weird. That's a little weird. That's a little bummy of him. Like that doesn't sound like a great character, someone's character. Um, but yeah, I think in the context, yeah, that line did stand out to me too. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I think overall the point was well made. I don't know. And then yeah, so I think that's it. Oh, and this other guy, this is also kind of, I guess, like spoiler if you tuned away and came back. So the reviewer said if her argument was that she's judgmental and she wants someone who can afford to take her to fancy restaurants or like to dress a certain way or whatever, and therefore is unlovable, at least to him. And if John is the same at the beginning and end, like he doesn't really change, and he says he'll change, but we don't know if he will, and blah blah blah. Why then is that realistic that they choose each other or whatever? And my take on that is that what Celine Song was saying, love is intangible, it's uncontrollable, it's something that you don't choose. And it's something that is said in the movie, and she said it in this interview. It's a mystery. I've actually, like, in the past few weeks, I've driven around, or I was like driving back from, I don't even know, class or something, and hold on. And I was like, what is love? What is love? What is it? Is it all chemicals in our brains sparked from, attachment style stuff where we're trying to find people like our parents, both, or, if you had more issues with one parent, so we can resolve those issues that we couldn't resolve when we were children? Is that what love is? Is that it? Is it just chemicals from a perspective of biology where we're just trying to find mates that are complements to us so we have better offspring? Is it this like spiritual soulmate situation? Is it, what is it? What is it? And I have no idea. No idea. But I lean towards what Celine says most, is that it's this like actual love. It's this mysterious thing that is not, it contains all of these, but it's also its own thing. And I don't know if I'll change my mind, but that's how I feel. How I feel about my ex, how I felt during and after and all around. Um, it just feels very much like this unexplainable, uncontrollable. It's not really like physical attraction, although that's there. It's not, but it also that fades, especially when you're upset with each other. You're like, I don't like you. How many times have you heard people say, like, I don't like you, but I love you? It's like, um, when you're hurt by someone or by a situation or by your own projections or whatever, you don't like that person very much and you don't feel that attraction, but the love is there. And the love is like what I felt was very well shown in this movie, because at the end of the day, no matter what, these people loved each other. I mean, both couples really cared for each other, but like, spoiler, I guess, if anyone is like even caring at this point, but uh the love between her and Chris Evans, John, like it was that inexplicable, like you can't help it, and it just is. I remember like with but that doesn't mean like I feel like my parents had that and they divorced and they never got back together. So it doesn't mean that it works out, but they still like cared for each other and looked out for each other and stuff. So I feel like love is really different than just like these like explainable things. Um and I remember saying this with my ex, like, would we have been better as friends or starting off as friends? And I remember, at least for me, thinking like, I don't think we could have. I don't I it was just something that just like was just so instant. And it was one of those things, if you've read Paulo Coelho, and maybe this is where I went wrong, but Paulo Coelho, I forget which book. It wasn't The Alchemist. Um but he was talking about like soulmates, about like the person that you love or whatever, and how like they feel like calm. You don't get like super excited, you don't get like the butterflies, and you don't get like anxious, you don't get anything crazy. It just feels like coming home and it feels calm. And that's how I felt with my ex. And but then like I get into my head like, oh, but is it just like attachment theory style and all this stuff? um and I think I don't know. I really like the movie and how her take on it. I think that's so far in my life my take on it is that love is just love. Again, it doesn't mean that it works out, but like it's not necessarily so cynical. And I think people might have a hard time with that. People who are like, "Oh, she should, be single at the end of this movie and figure herself out and blah 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 blah." I don't think that was the point of this movie, particularly. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Hold on. I wonder if YouTube will have a problem with me. It's like putting this spray. I don't think it looks like drugs, but I don't even know with YouTube's with YouTube. Yeah, not just couples. I say that to my sister when we have a disagreement. That you love her but you don't like her right now. Yeah, yeah. No, with like my family, when I think about it, like there are times when you just like hate them. Like you have this deep, deep hate, to be honest, when you're like really hurt. And it's family, but yeah. And I think that's like so beautiful too when you're able to be okay with feeling those feelings and knowing that, hey, like this doesn't say anything about me or them or our relationship. It just says about like this moment. I'm really in pain right now because, or they really hurt me and I'm not expressing it or whatever it is. Um, if they have a problem, then you don't have a problem with them spying on you also. Um, Wait, I'm confused with that. If they have a problem, then you have a problem with them spying on you also. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you elaborate, Roses Wild, please? Um, but yeah, so that was my really long-winded. But I love this movie so much. It's very aligned with the mystery I'm trying to kind of figure out, which is like love and relationships and why do they work out or not work out and what is it, and I don't even know. Oh, about the eye drops. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I meant like, AI or whatever, like whatever scan YouTube uses for the inappropriate words or whatever, to demonetize or like to not suggest the video or whatever. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, they are spying. They're doing that. It's kind of like a given when you sign up. You kind of know what you're signing up for. Which is why like it would be great to have like your own platform, but it's hard. But I imagine that one day we'll probably get to a point where, content creators will go through things like Zoom or something where you can just have like donations or whatever. It might be idealistic of me to think that, but yeah, instead of just views on YouTube because of the issues. But then it's going to be really hard to regulate, really bad information. So I don't know. Feel better. I'm so sorry, Maria. Good night. Yeah. Um Man, it feels like I've been talking forever actually. I feel actually kind of bad that I took so long on this movie, but I just cannot wait to talk about it with anyone that I can. Especially like listening to these reviewers talk about how crappy this movie was, and I'm like, you're too heady. You're thinking too much. This is not a thinking movie. Literally, it was said in the movie so many times that love is not about thinking. It's not about boxes that you check. It's not about transactions. It's not about logic. It's not about, what you think it should be or whatever. So you're trying to make it something that it's not. I think Maria was going, yeah. Have a good night to everyone that is leaving. A Rose is Wild too. But yeah, so yeah. Anyways, moving on to. I don't want to talk about Blake. I don't want to talk about any of this. About Ryan Reynolds. I literally, and under Ryan Reynolds, I said, should we even bother? So he was voted times 100 something, something, something. Or maximum effort was voted something. Oh, maybe put down the. Oh, and I actually have this. So yeah, this is the cover. He also has this other cover that he started with, and there was another one in the article. And anyways, Maximum Effort was just named one of Times 100's most influential companies. I insisted, begged they take this photo for a bunch of reasons, but the main reason, because it's not Maximum Effort is not me. It's a tiny little pirate ship helmed by the most talented, tireless, and creative team of people on planet Earth. Doesn't that sound like Blake Lively talking about Betty Buzz? Also, just please don't say little pirate ship, tiny little pirate ship. Like, it is not tiny little. You are a millionaire. Or, like, yeah. You are not tiny. Nothing that these people do can be under like, oh, we're just a tiny little starter company. Oh, we're just a tiny little pirate ship. No. No. Ah, that's just like frustrating. I don't get why this year they are being awarded for something because of the lawsuit. I really do believe that it is all orchestrated. It is not a coincidence. Yeah, they can't stay out of the public eye. And they want positive news. So this is positive news. Like, look how good we are. Look how influential we are. Look how loved we are. Um, Look how important we are. But especially, like, look how loved we are. Look how, like, the team is so great and the team, loves us for our respective companies. Oh, wait, sorry. There we go. Even though it's like Ryan Reynolds, but potato. I will say that I do get watching, because I watched this his little interview clip, and I do get why people like him. But the first thing that was said about him is that, was it in here too? I think so. maybe not. Hold on. Let me take my notes back. Yeah, I think he says, or she said, I don't know, the interviewer, it's about respecting the audience's intelligence and having a little fun. That's all he's about. And the first thing was like, how respecting audience intelligence, can you really say that? And it made me think for a minute. I'm like, I wonder then if it's not him and he's just this like innocent little guy and it's really Blake that's the evil, not respecting people's intelligence person. For a minute, or not even a minute, it made me think that, and I was like, no, it's I don't think so, because when you go and through the rest of this is so manipulative, so scripted, orchestrated, whatever word goes with it. It is so marketing, because then it talks about like it just creates so much empathy and connection and just like niceness about them. And at one point, where is it? Gosh, I don't know. Blake Lively enters the picture. Man, where is it? Maybe here? Yeah. Just then, Lively pops into the room wearing leggings and an oversized shirt. She wants to check in with Reynolds about coordinating their schedules for 10 minutes of catch up time as they compare their calendars in the middle of this interview. But okay. Um, like that just doesn't at all make any sense. So tell me that that is not planned specifically so they can write this in this article and make them look how nice they are and how much they love each other and how like relatable and how like you and me they are. And like couple goals. As they compare their calendars, Lively offers me her favorite snack, sour dried blueberries that she says taste like warheads, and begins to rummage through their drawers trying to locate them. Reynolds leaps up to help her, and then she says, "You're chewing into your time." But Reynolds seems rather zen about any tumultuous turns in his public life. He attributes this perspective to an incident early in his life when he got into a brawl with a friend and he skipped rehab and decided to go to conflict resolution workshops. Didn't seem like it works, right? Because he was just yelling at Justin Baldoni in front of that executive producer or Sony executive or whatever that person was. And like like in a way that executives this said that he's or she has never seen something like that. So I don't think that worked. I don't think the conflict resolution workshops worked. Um yeah. So, but yeah, it just was like so. This is where I was like, I think that he deserves to be on here because as marketing, I think he probably and his company probably does a wonderful job. Marketing is not ethical. Marketing can be, but not really. I feel like it's really hard to be ethical doing marketing um, because you have to it's really hard. You have to convince people that they want to buy your product or buy into you or whatever. And if it's just like a nice like self promotion or whatever, like talking about it, like saying, "Hey, subscribe to my channel" or whatever. That's not marketing. I'm talking about marketing that's like people do that. What? Hold on. Sorry, I'm like checking on my parakeets. And someone just put something over the camera, which is, I'm going to deal with that soon. But yeah, marketing is, you have to be so, I can't find the word. Like, just have no, responsibility, I guess. I don't know. Just not care what it does to people. I don't know. And to just kind of manipulate the, the perception of you and all that stuff. Like, it's not really something that people usually do or would be advised to do. Like this stuff, like they have to look a certain way. They have to present themselves a certain way that's a lie. Even if like sometimes it is that way. But to do it knowing that in that moment it's orchestrated, like you have to have no or little ethics. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know the words, and I'm also just very distracted about this. Yeah, about this like parakeet situation. Anyways, so yeah, they talk also about It Ends With Us. Um, just, Oftentimes, I create perhaps too much accessibility. I don't like a filtration system. A game of telephone is a terrible way to communicate. True. They need to hear your voice. They need to feel your emotional investment. They need to feel your gratitude if you've done something great. But you can also admit that all of this is very easily manipulative and performative. It doesn't mean that you're being genuine. It doesn't mean that you have that you are grateful. It means that they need to feel your gratitude, and you better show that. You better show that you're grateful. It really is hard to see him through um objective or like nice eyes, nice perspective. Supposedly, he stomps on the street and doesn't just take selfies with fans. He asks them who the most important person in their life is and records a video for that person. He can't help himself. Please, that phrase is just the grossest thing. He can't help himself. Yeah, he can. He chooses. Even if he's like that good of a person, he can help himself. He chooses to do that. If he's a terrible person, he chooses to do that. Don't give me that phrase. I don't believe this. And I think sometimes I can see that happening, but every single time, I don't know. And again, doesn't mean that he's a good person. It means that maybe he's really good at marketing. He's really good at knowing exactly what to give people to make them like him. And so they talk at one point about how both him and Blake are people pleasers. And it makes me think of that. I think he doesn't understand people pleasing. I think he thinks that because of this, like with marketing, you have to do things that make people like you. That's not being a people pleaser. Um, People pleaser is like you cannot hurt people because that makes people not love you, not want to be around you and stuff. And so you'll bend backwards and at your expense for them. But it's different than like a celebrity or someone that does marketing or whatever. But a celebrity who doesn't has to like lower boundaries when they're out in the public. They have to, whether they're having a good or bad day, they do have to kind of not care ideally and show up and like take pictures with fans and talk to them and be nice and pretend like they're not going through a really crappy day. that's not the same thing as people pleasing and like not having boundaries. That's like just the world of marketing and PR, and how like your image to those people, to your fans, gives you the living that you have. So it's not the same thing, and I think that's what they're confusing. I think it is kind of a little delusion, or like ignorance, or not understanding. I don't know if it's like on purpose per se, and I know I hate to say that, but I think they might actually just really not understand it's not the same thing. Where is that? I'm like all over the place. Um oh my gosh, what did I say? What words did that have? Yeah, there you go. So, Reynolds admits Reynolds does admit to a deep-rooted need to be liked, probably related to being the youngest of four brothers vying for validation from a withholding cop father. Heartstrings not pulled. Thank you. I'll also say that again, like deep-rooted need to be liked. Trump has a deep-rooted need to be liked. Does not make him a better person. Does not make him a good person. Um, that's like the difference. Like, um, people can have this need, this like necessity, like deep necessity, desperate necessity to be liked. It can be from like maybe a narcissistic point where they have to be perfect and they have to be liked, and they will cross over people's bodies to be liked. That's different than people pleasing, where you cannot harm another person, you cannot cross over anyone else's body, like to be liked. um they're two different things, and this is like people pleasing. Technically this is not people pleasing, this is just wanting to be liked. Totally different thing. uh sure he does. I haven't read this. For what was this for? This is for times 100 businesses or companies or whatever. Yeah, time 100 companies, how Ryan Reynolds rewrote the script with maximum effort, which I before this I didn't even know about it. Um Before like the lawsuit, I didn't know about maximum effort. I knew about Mint Mobile commercials and Aviation Gin, and that he was doing those ads, but I didn't know that he had a company. So, but yeah. And I think it's well deserved as far as like results wise. I do think that he has the work behind it. Unlike the Blake nomination, she's not influential. Um, I don't like him. I don't think that it's ethical necessarily, etc. Um, and I have obviously issues with what he says, but like I think it's deserved. I can like split the two. Um, sure he does. I don't believe it. I never really paid mind to him except in the first Deadpool. If it wasn't for that movie, I can't tell you what else he has done that interests me. Yeah, I don't know. Green Lantern. I only remember him from this one like American Pie like movie. Actually, Brianna Eve mentioned American Pie, and she's like, "How many people are old enough to know this reference?" And never watched American Pie, but it was like that time where those like comedies were a thing, and I just didn't like them. I forget the name of the movie, but I remember him being in it, and I was like, "Who is this ugly guy? We're supposed to like him? Why? He's not good looking." That was not me saying that now because of this lawsuit. That was me back then. Um, yeah, I can't tell you what. Yeah, he's kind of like Blake Lively, in that way. Yeah, that's a good question. How old is? I wonder if it's here. Probably a better Google search. Um, 2018. So 7 years old. 2018, it was founded by Ryan, initially focused on marketing, probably for the gin or something. That's what at least it says here, because it was like it started from the aviation gin, and then they acquired MNTN, a TV ad tech company, and he became chief creative officer in 2021. In 2022 onward, expanded into film and TV production. Welcome to Wrexham and Deadpool 3 promotions. And it ends with us promotions. Yeah, so 7 years old. Never watched American Pie. Yeah. Or never heard. Oh, okay. So what, after 7 years he yeah. I mean, I feel like that's fine. SpaceX is on here. What else is? It's not like this is like the new company or whatever. Gap, Gap. I thought Gap was going out of business. Okay. Nintendo, OpenAI, Anysphere, I've never heard of that. Waymo, I think I've heard of that. Poppy, SoftBank, and 91 more of the world's most influential businesses. I mean, I also believe that because it took some traction, it's not like at the beginning. So I don't know. I think it adds up in this case. I think it adds up. I don't think this is. Now, is it, timing wise, it seems convenient. Yeah, it may be bought that way, but I think it's that he's like on the front cover. But I think he probably would have been maybe in there too. I don't know, maybe not. But he seems to have done a pretty good job with the marketing. I think, yeah, just like Blake, if she wanted to do directing or whatever, she should have done that and not try to hijack movies. I think that's at the end of the day is like no one's saying to these people don't do something as far as like have a marketing company, do directing, direct movies or produce movies. It's like do your own. Don't hijack other people's. And like I guess like with maximum effort, it's also kind of iffy because like even with It Ends With Us, they kind of seem to hijack the marketing of it. Like, oh, my husband's marketing company can do the marketing. Things like that. That's not unusual by any means as far as like business and stuff like that. But yeah. What else? Oh yeah, It Ends With Us. Oh, here's the MNTN. They frequently collaborate, but it says here that they acquire them. An advertising platform for which Reynolds serves as chief creative officer. Mark Douglas, an MNTN CEO, recently had lunch with Reynolds and ambassadors from a brand. They were describing themselves and what they do, and right at the table, he created a commercial in front of them, Douglas says. He just imagined how he would tell this story in 30 seconds on television. I mean, I don't hate on that. I feel like after he's done it for so long, it's not, again, it doesn't make him a good person though. It just, I can totally see that. I don't know. And also it doesn't make this commercial that he did in 30 seconds or whatever, or not 30 seconds, but yeah, like it doesn't make it good. It just says that he did it. So I'm going to highlight that part. Wait, I was saying something with the people pleasing. So yeah, so I am a people pleasing by default, as is my wife, as our first two children. The third was, born flipping the bird, and the fourth is to be determined. And this is hard to also take since Blake has said that he enjoys lying about their kids. And we just caught them in a lie about their one daughter's birthday. So, I don't know. I wonder if this one, though, if it's true, if this is the one that was also mentioned that stood up to him, like, no, I don't want to say that stuff, and then was like manipulated into saying it. So on Deadpool, Inez was it? Anyways, Reynolds knows that the trade is a double-edged sword that, and he says your boundaries can kind of melt, and that's not necessarily healthy. When Reynolds drops his kids off at school, he likes to remind them, disappoint one person today. I think that's believable. Again, I don't it's coming across in a way very specifically to seem like people cross over their boundaries, like they're doormats or whatever, but they're not. You cannot build the empires that he has and stuff by doing that. You cannot really have much empathy and stuff, I believe. And then he says, he admits he struggles to follow his own advice, but at least he's figured out a way to channel this perceived weakness into a strength. He knows how to charm A-listers, CEOs, and crucially, the consumer. Again, narcissists feel not good enough, so it doesn't make them and what they do better. And like people pleasing as like an anxious attachment is a people pleaser. In the case of like, they will really have no boundaries like at all, and they will like be used, not use other people ever. I mean, like, yeah. So, it ends with us. There you go. If you've glanced at social media in the last year, you probably know that Lively filed an SH and retaliation complaint against Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director of the film It Ends With Us, in December 2024. According to a New York Times report or article, Baldoni hired a crisis PR manager who had previously represented clients like Johnny Depp, which it's interesting because isn't that a good thing? It's like people calling socialism a bad thing. Baldoni then sued Lively, Reynolds, their publicist, and the Times for defamation and conspiracy to damage his career with what he said is a false accusation. A judge recently threw out Baldoni's countersuit and is allowing Lively's suits to proceed. Kind of factual, but it does sound biased. But I mean, they just did. How would they not be? A judge recently threw out Baldoni's. Oh, sorry. But the situation has taken on a life of its own in the tabloids and on TikTok. Not articles, not social media, but tabloids and equating TikTok to tabloids. And also, we're not on TikTok. And it's mostly not on TikTok. I mean, it is on everything's on TikTok, but it's YouTube. Even my celebrity agnostic relatives asked about it when I mentioned I was interviewing Reynolds. The couple is declining to speak about it. Still, I ask Reynolds whether the tabloids and online discourse, have impacted his bottom line. He is, after all, the face of all of these companies. He says, I can read something that says he should be drawn and quartered, which I don't even know what that means. I could read something that says I should win a Nobel Prize or Nobel Prize. Both are meaningless. Didn't he say this already, or did she say this? This is a regurgitated line, which again makes you less likable in today's world. If you're just doing a script that you're always doing, she does this all the time. Blake Lively says the same thing over and over and over again. None of us are comprised of our best moments. None of us are defined by our worst moments. We are something in the middle. And to which Ashley Brianna Eve said, so why are they trying to ruin Justin's life if he's not also defined by his best and worst moments? He is somewhere in the middle. Why are they trying to destroy his life? A week later, when I pushed him on whether headlines can affect his brand and business relationships, he's more pointed. Accessibility and accountability are a big part of how I do things. I wonder where he got that from. I wonder where he stole that line from, that idea from. The people that I work with know me, so there's never a question of anything like that. If you operate with some degree of core values and integrity, they're going to help you up. If you're a butthole, they're not, and that's pretty simple. Which also shows that they're buttholes because everyone's gone quiet and running away from them. So that was like my first thought. Unless they're like, you're talking about people on their payroll and things. But yeah, again, this is not really saying anything good or bad, because integrity just means that you are one with who you are. You're what you say what you mean what you say, you believe all of it. Like, it's just all integral. It's all, there's no conflict around it. Doesn't mean that it's a good or bad thing, but usually people say that to mean a good thing. But basically, integrity is like you're just aligned with yourself. Uh, and I don't doubt that. I think he's a butthole anyways. I don't the jokes that the way that he always speaks is never nice and kind. So I don't know. I don't really have much to go on to feel like he's a good person. Um but yeah, this accessibility and accountability are a big part of how I do things. I think is absolutely a lie, in my opinion, allegedly. I don't know. That's just what I think. Um, I think that he took that from. Was he the one that talked about like stealing from other people, basically? And like personality wise and making, yeah, he was it for the Times interview or was it for something else? He was having that one interview, I don't remember, but he was talking about how he steals from other people's personality, basically. It's paraphrasing. So I think that he stole that from Justin Baldoni, because Justin has spoke about how um he will always take accountability. He will make mistakes, but at the end of the day, he will own up to them. And how, if it's true that Reynolds and Blake or whatever, they drafted that statement and using Justin's text message to Blake, or voice note about taking accountability and so forth, and it was phrased in that same way, and which is so crazy. They didn't even try to like make it a perfect crime, if that's true. Like, they just like blatantly just copied pasted. And now we're having this. That's what it makes me think of too. That Ryan just was like, oh, this is something people will like. I'm going to do that too. That's how I see him. That's the people pleasing that I think he's talking about. It's like, ooh, if I do this, people will like me. That is not people pleasing, again, in the sense of like where you want to like help that person and they're like struggling. I think that was it. And then she enters the room. And then Wrexham. I write something about that part. Where are my notes? Um, oh, he talked about how he thinks consumers in general and audiences, they know they're being marketed to. So acknowledge it, and if you do, they're more likely to share the story in that story themselves or something like that. Yeah, but I think like he doesn't do a great job. His ads are annoying, but I mean, yeah, he owns it. He doesn't pretend like it's, marketing. I don't know, I feel like it's a fine line. New approach to marketing and advertising. Fastertising is what he calls it. Um, he did this, and I didn't even know this. This is how not big this commercial was. But for Aviation Gin, he had seen that Peloton failed with this one ad where it was like this woman that I didn't even see the initial ad, but this woman whose husband was kind of keeping track of her fitness progress or whatever, and people were calling it creepy, and he saw it and he says counterintuitive to use another brand's ad or another product's ad to market your product. Made me also think of how, okay, so you're not being original, you're just using other people to like, their corpses, their brand's corpse to like build your empire on. Although, like, I admit this is where I started like, thinking about talking about this. Like, marketing is not ethical. Marketing is not something that I feel like is aspirational and we should aspire to, and we should like really even spend too much appreciation for, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's building your empire on corpses, in my opinion. So I think this is a genius marketing tactic. It doesn't mean that it's like a good human tactic, you know? And I said, yeah, ethical, moral, but genius at marketing, sure, yeah. Um, yeah, and then what was this? Oh, yeah. To the selfies on the street, I said, please. um, and the Blake Lively so scripted, and yeah. Yeah, so that's all that I have on this times 100. And honestly, I don't really feel like diving into the Van Zandt thing tonight. What am I doing? What is this? What? Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. No, what? What the heck? Oh, okay, wait. I know. Sorry. Copy paste method. Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't like do the same ad. He just like expanded on it. He used it and got the same actress. And basically, I think from my understanding is that he kind of built on that story of how creepy people saw that. And then so like she's at the bar drinking aviation gin to like de-stress from her husband, you know, monitoring her fitness journey or something. That was my understanding. I see why I haven't read this. He sounds like a butthole. Yeah. Yeah. This is as much as I can handle from them. Yeah. Yeah. Um yeah. Uh I'll do like a very quick overview of like legal stuff. Like literally just like overview. Like I'm not going to read anything. I did find this. I'm going to go through this. I did not see any of these. So but that if you want to like honestly just watch Omar, Ask Two Lawyers, and of course Lauren, the Court of Random Opinion. She's awesome and she's like the one to watch for anything legal documents wise. Um, but basically, there's a should we not? What are we doing with Van Zandt subpoena? They don't want to give everything. They say that well, the this particular information, like shareholders' information, is public. So, like, why do we need to present it? And I think, as to lawyers, Stewart, I think, was saying it doesn't matter. It's not. Shareholders are not public. You can see the CEO and stuff, but not shareholders. And B, even if it was, doesn't mean that in discovery, it doesn't mean that you can't ask for the same information from multiple people. And he even gives an example of how he asks for like bank statements from the bank, and he found something that he didn't find, I think, in like other discovery asks for the same stuff or something like that. I don't know, or that's what it sounded like. So he's like, there's no rule to not ask for it multiple times from multiple sources and stuff. They would be surprised if Judge Lyman doesn't grant this subpoena and the compelling of the subpoena. Omar says the same thing. Lauren, she's like, this is where, like, if he, Lyman does a different decision, like, this is where she'll feel like, oh, maybe something's fishy with this um judge. And I'm not gonna go as far, but yeah, I feel like it is based on Lyman's previous decisions as far as discovery type things, as far as like relevancy of things, and especially from that first hearing that they had. I think it's very unlikely that he's not going to, because he seems to indeed want to have he sees the relevancy of things and he is a stickler for that. So yeah, it would be very, very weird if he wouldn't. Now, all of it, I don't know. I'm confused with I don't even know which one would say, but I'm confused with like all the numbers, because they were referencing numbers, like, they could do this but not that, and number 1 and 2 and but not 3, or I don't even know the numbers because I just didn't know about these until now. And so maybe it'll be something like that, but again, I don't know the numbers, so I don't know. Vituska thing, I'm with the lawyers, and Lauren said this too, like, until it's on the docket, take it with a grain of salt. But there is, rumors around that Vituska is withdrawing his affidavit or whatever. All I'm saying about that guy is that he's a mess. I don't know about him particularly as a person, but like, he's like a tornado. He's messing things up one way or another. I don't think he's trustworthy, because of when we went back on Wednesday, was it, or whenever we went, or Monday, I went back and read the text messages between him and Leslie, and then he had text messages with was it Melissa Nathan or Jen Abel or both? I don't know. And screenshotted those. And then he sent Leslie Sloan a screenshot of what he sent to Brian Friedman of not wanting to be involved. So I just, like, from all of that on Monday, he just does not he seems like a snake. He does not seem credible. He does not seem ethical, of course. He does not seem right. He seems very, very shady, and he seems like he could mess any and every one of their stuff. Like, everyone, you know? So, yeah. And then the Ask Two lawyers said that, yeah, okay, sorry. Before that, is Blake trying to blame Stephanie Jones for her lawsuit now? Is this like how Blake wants to kind of distance herself and slither away from the trial and distance herself from, like, accusing Justin? This is not impossible, I feel like. I was just watching one of Lauren's videos, so I have to read all of this. I don't know which document she was reading from, and maybe I misunderstood, but that's what it sounded like, that Blake is trying to kind of blame Steph Jones for not giving her correct information or whatever information, and then making her believe that she was having a smear campaign done to her, when in fact there wasn't. And so Blake can turn it around like, oh, I just didn't know. That's what the information I received told me. And so it's not my fault. I, sent this lawsuit based on the information that I got. So I guess I was wrong because I got the wrong information. And I'm not to blame. It's Stephanie Jones. I'm going to, scapegoat her, which, I mean, it also could be true. I don't think Blake is innocent at all, but I wonder if that's like that could be a possibility of Blake trying to save face without going to trial, without incriminating herself, and trying to, like, backpedal and sort of vindicate Justin in a way and save herself in the meantime, you know? So it's all at the end of the day to save herself, but like she won't have to say sorry to Justin or to say, oh, like I was lying or I was not, or I, mischaracterized things or I didn't know. I thought it was something else, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But again, I might have just misunderstood what Lauren was reading. There has to be a fall person at the end. Yeah, yeah. And Steph Jones is a pretty good fall person because no one seems to like her, like anywhere. So many celebrities have had issues with her. So many celebrities have been really bitten by her, and so she could be the perfect fall person. Not saying that it's a good thing. And also doesn't mean that's not true either, because it seems like she's doing some nasty things anyway, so it could be that. I don't think that Stephanie Jones and Blake Lively are best friends, is what I'm saying. I don't think that, what Stephanie Jones was doing was for Blake's well being. I think Stephanie Jones was looking out for Stephanie Jones, and she was, who knows what she did and said and whatever, how she presented things. But I also think that Blake Lively, it seems based on the documents, the proof that we have so far, the not proof, evidence that we have so far, it seems like Blake already had issues to begin with all of this. I mean, the 17 points didn't come from Stephanie Jones and the lawsuit and the text messages and all that stuff, So yeah. Yeah, she seems shady. Yeah, she she I don't know if seems is even the word at this point, because there's been a lot of proof that she is. But yeah, allegedly. I agree they should give him everything that led up to the subpoena. Yeah. Yeah. So, as two lawyers was saying through there, and I only watched halfway through, but they were kind of jabbing at some content creators, and I hope not me. I don't think I said anything bad about them, um, but I don't think they watch me either. I don't think they even know who I am. But that they were talking about how they and Omar disagree, but they disagree to each other's face, and then they don't dislike them, they don't like trash them or whatever, and they don't trash him or Lauren or whatever, um or anyone that they disagree with. And I think that's what like Stewart was trying to say as far as Blake, and I think it was just misguided because of the emotional, and that's what Omar was saying, like there's an emotional component to people watching this trial, and if you're going to say something good about Justin, Blake Lively supporters are going to be really upset. If you're going to say something good about Blake, Justin supporters are going to be upset. So I think Stewart was a little too objective, is what I'm trying to say. And as far as like him talking about 47.1, or both of them really talking about 47.1, and how like Blake's motion to dismiss was like pretty smartly done and so forth. I remember thinking like, yeah, it's not something that we want to hear and stuff, but like I just remember thinking like, this is a good heads up, because this could go this way, the judge could see it this way, and it's a good heads up to not get our hopes up and not feel like, okay, it's a slam dunk. Oh yeah, this person, this other side could have good arguments, even if they're not maybe, the ultimate good or whatever, but they're like factually good, or, because this is like, I've said this before. Sometimes lawsuits and cases are won on technicalities and are dismissed on technicalities, not because of the merit of truth, you know? Um, so that's what could happen here too, on either side. That happens, I think, a lot. I don't know. I don't know if often, but like enough for me to know about it. And so I think Stuart was just presenting that, and it was both of them. I don't know why Stuart got the like, maybe because he's like outspoken in chats or whatever. And that one time that you guys even came on here and like, oh, I unfollowed them, can't take them, because he was talking about about content creators. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's just like a lawyer. I don't know. I don't really. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm not gonna go into the news. The other thing that I have, I don't even know what my screen is showing. Okay. Did you guys see this? I missed this. The only thing I want to say, I'm not gonna play it, but I really love this person, whoever she is. Um, co-star Hannah Kim Roar, Alicia Hannah Kim. Okay. So she is, I feel like, an example of someone who's like, she comes across very securely attached, very well at communication, and just like um a really like good centered human, where she can really express really well what's going on and how things should be, and she has a very good handle of how things should be and how people, like adults, should communicate with each other and stuff. I don't know. Also, this guy's like really cute, and it's his son, must be the mom. Um, but yeah, so this guy bit her arm. He says that it was in joke on set. I don't even know. I was watching this. I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? But actually, go watch Andy's video. It's the way that she talks, I think, is inspirational, and it's like really cool conflict management. Um, Not that it really worked at all for them, but or for him, but yeah. And that's it. That's it. I spend most of the time on Materialists, and it's midnight and we're done. But I also can't wait to like figure out this like camera with my parakeets and if they're okay. Dave Neal. I haven't seen Dave's. I haven't seen his. I'm gonna take that off. I'm gonna take this off, and what am I? What am I doing? There we go. Yeah, I haven't watched Dave's videos in a while. For no reason. Like, I love Dave and I support him. I haven't watched so many. I've just watched Lawrence, not actually Golden sometimes, but Lawrence, Omar. I started watching Omar more. Without a Crystal Ball sometimes. She loses me. Her cadence when she talks for some reason loses me, but she has like she does her research. She's like really cool. I don't even know. I think that's it. So yeah. But I did see that he might be a witness for the whatever trial, which I feel like that's the craziest trial besides Puff Daddy that I've heard in my lifetime so far. I forget her name, but with Colton from um, The Bachelor and whatever her name is, I forget. That Lauren also covered. They were covering it together, and yeah, um, yeah, just crazy, just crazy. That's a crazy one. Um, but yeah, I need to catch up on Dave. Sometimes the thing too is that he started doing commercial or like ads and sponsorships, and he has so many ads. I think that kind of, again, like I support him and I really want to, but I just cannot handle the ads. Like they literally are just my nervous system. I cannot take ads. um and I met with someone like networking wise, and she was saying maybe it's because I've done marketing and so I'm ultra sensitive to it. I'm like, yeah, it could be. And yeah, he just started doing more of that. And yeah, but he's like really like, he covers so much and he's like to the point with everything and he's funny, so I feel bad, but yeah. I only watch your lives, you'll cover it if it's important. No pressure, Arnaldo, right? I appreciate that though. I can't follow too many on the same topics. Yeah, it gets like a lot. It gets a lot. At the beginning in January, February, it was like so fresh, and it was like I just want to consume more and more and hear different people's perspectives, and like and then it just I mean, I didn't even want to talk about Blake Lively right now. I was like, I'm over it for this for this week, and I'm oversaturated. And I started watching less and less. Even Lauren, I started watching less, and I started just reading articles or whatever. I don't know. So yeah. Um, and as you saw, like today, I spoke more about this movie, which yeah. And other times about news or psychology or whatever. So I like when like the Leslie Dobson thing was interesting because yes, it was about a part of this celebrity lawsuit drama situation, but it was also about psychology and stuff. So it was like really cool, kind of refreshed, the energy. So yeah. But yeah, I do try to kind of see what is everyone talking about. Shirsty's also the other person that I've started seeing less and less because um, it is kind of the same thing, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You go through, ups and downs. Sometimes you feel like some creators, sometimes you feel like other creators. I feel like we're all so different and they're all so different, and sometimes you need like more energy or less energy or more like just read this stuff to me or like just like tell me like the bush birds just like read comments and or I don't know, it's all over the place. So, yeah. But thank you for being here. And happy weekend. I don't know. I hope Maria feels better. The other Maria. And yeah, I think that's it. Peace, love, and compassion. It's really weird. I have just like really weird thing with like endings or goodbyes. Like I just start freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something I missed saying, or like it's so weird to just say, okay, cool, bye. I don't know. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna try though. Okay. I think that's yeah. I think that's all. I'll see you guys on Monday anyway, so it's not too far away. Um. Oh, let me just check court listener if I don't think anything crazy came in. No. Still that Lively may submit a letter of no more than 2 single spaced pages. I love that. By July 2nd. So, more stuff next week. But yeah. Peace, loving, and compassion. And have a great weekend. Oh, and empathy. Yeah. Bye. Oh, boy.